Hailing frequencies open and welcome aboard Treks and Tangents. I'm your co-host Brian.
And I'm your co-host Jackie. I'm the Star Trek newbie who treks off on tangents.
And I'm your Star Trek expert who is here to get the tangents back on track. Each episode we watch and talk about a different Star Trek episode. And this week we watched
Star Trek, the original series, Season 2, Episode 2, Who Mourns for Adonais.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode.
Very exciting.
Season 2, I think, produces better episodes than Season 1.
Well, yeah, technology has gotten better.
And I think the show has kind of fallen into a better pace.
Yes, like they're trying, but we're still stuck in some, ladies are lower than the men.
And I think the show itself has kind of captured more of its identity.
Yes.
As we move into Season 2. But everyone stick around till the end of the episode to find out the topic of our bonus Star Note episode that we'll post on Patreon at the same time. So jump over there for the bonus episode after you finish with this. We'll jump straight into it by revisiting last week's Turbolift tease. That's where we gave Jaci the title of this week's episode. And Jaci, without any other information, tried to guess the plot of this week's episode. So without further ado, computer, what was Jaci's guess last week?
Jaci's Turbolift tease last week was, the Enterprise is receiving a distress call from a planet that is not on their way to wherever they were supposed to go, and they have to debate whether they go and help this planet or ignore them and keep going to their final destination.
So Jaci, how accurate do you think your Turbolift tease was?
Major fail, but I got the two planets right.
Okay, yes, so they're going from planet to planet on a cartography mission, so
two planets.
Sure. They're starting at one planet and moving to the next planet, but other than that,
major fail.
I don't know that there's anything else that ties into the episode this week, but hey, A for effort.
Well, I have a lot to learn. Like, I didn't have no idea what all these people do.
And it's kind of it's one of the titles that's kind of misleading because I don't know how much the actual title ties into the plot, so.
Yeah, we have an overgrown man-child who thinks he's the god of everything.
Well, he thinks he's the last god left in an outdated system.
Yes, and now he needs everybody else to be with him.
So what did you think of the episode this week, now that you've seen it?
I mean, it was enjoyable. It went really fast. Like, there wasn't like a slow, flat, fast. It just kept going. But it made our Lieutenant Palamas, like, she totally went from super smart to super dumb, and then she had to get smart again.
It's kind of like what we saw in Space Seed with Khan, where we had another bright, intelligent crew member of the Enterprise completely fall head over heels for, in this case, not an alien, but some influence outside of the Enterprise in a very similar fashion.
True. Maybe she just really enjoyed her dress.
And we also saw the same thing happen on Shore Leave, where all of a sudden we had what is a bright, intelligent crew member just completely throw it all away because a pretty dress appears.
So obviously we all need to stay on the Enterprise and just look from afar.
And not fall for attractive members of the opposite sex and not get distracted by pretty dresses.
Or just be like Disney and don't get Twitter pated.
Something similar to that.
Yeah.
Did you find the episode entertaining?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I agree. It doesn't really have any pacing problems. It does pretty much just go.
It has like one storyline.
Right. There's not really anything else much to follow. They don't really go off on any tangents.
It's more like they're trying to escape from that man, that god man, because he's literally holding them in space.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of a pretty obvious flow of plot points from beginning to end for viewers, well, it's your first time seeing it. So did you kind of follow it the whole way through, kind of knowing what the natural conclusion was going to be?
I had hoped I hoped it would end how I thought it would end. So I was pleasantly surprised, but then I was like, whoa, interesting.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's an okay episode. It's entertaining to watch. It's not a huge head scratcher. They don't really leave a whole lot of questions on the table at the end. It's just kind of it happens and we're done. So,
Well, I was glad that Scotty got to be a main character and show his affection,
yes.
because Dr. McCoy gets all of the action, or he thinks he does.
McCoy is definitely the unsung ladies' man of the Enterprise. We always
Yes.
talk about Kirk and his adventures with
His
the
outright. He's like forefront.
Yes, but we get McCoy in the background definitely has his moments. So, I mean, they all end up having moments.
Well, I guess we just got to keep watching.
Well, without any other distractions by 20-foot tall Greek gods, why don't you walk us through the episode?
All right. So, in this episode, we are starting mid conversation, it seems like. Usually, it seems the episodes are kind of like showing the bridge and like setting up, getting ready to do something. This episode started mid sentence, it seems like mid conversation. And our Lieutenant Carolyn Palamas is sharing her report on planet Pollux 5, which is the next planet that they're doing their mapping of
After
Pollux 4.
correct.
So right now they're starting to do the plan is mapping Pollux 4, but she's presenting her report that she stayed up all night for the next planet. So that's why they start talking about how she looks tired, and Scotty says, "Oh, she's worked so hard on it." And like that's pretty much the general chatter that we interrupt. And Scotty kind of like escorts Lieutenant Palamas out to get a coffee, and then McCoy and Kirk are talking about how, oh, she'll find love one day and then they'll lose an officer. So weird.
Yeah, I mean, so Scotty's flirting with
Yes.
Palomas, and that's going to be central to the plot moving forward. And Kirk and McCoy are kind of ribbing Scotty over this whole thing. And at the end, when they do this little conversation, I mean, McCoy doesn't seem to enjoy the idea of crew members fraternizing with each other. Don't really know at this point what the rules are in Starfleet for that type of behavior, but we see it multiple times. And yeah, Kirk gives this awkward comment of like, well, no, I don't like to think of it. She'll get married and, she'll settle down and I won't be losing an officer. I'll be gaining, because he's trying to play off of the saying of, I'm not losing a daughter, I'm gaining a son.
Yes.
But he doesn't finish it up because he just goes, well,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
actually, crap, I'm losing an officer, And I'm like, okay.
Like they automatically sign her off. Like she'll just leave Starfleet. Oh well.
Yeah, and I mean part of that is because at this point in the original series for Star Trek, these ships are very much military type ships. While their mission is to explore and conduct scientific research and so forth, it's structured very much like a military style environment. When you jump forward to the next generation and we look at the Enterprise and under Picard, Starfleet has changed it, and now families have joined the officers on the ship. Picard very much is speaking out against this because he's in charge of a completely different structure. So I don't know, maybe that was the norm, is you just had people marry off and leave Starfleet and go do something else. But in the future, we at least start to see that they're going to, if as an example, Lieutenant Palamas and Scotty were to get married, they would just keep living on the Enterprise.
Oh, well, then they would eventually gain little probies.
Yes, little kids. But we also had the episode where, what was her name? You liked her so much because they got married, but then they were going to get married, but then the husband died the episode before shore leave, and then she comes back for shore leave. But they were going to get married, and no one's. I mean, I don't know. It just was an awkward comment from Kirk in the moment.
Right. And also, I'm sure at this time of life, while it's being made, that generally happened. People got married and someone had to stay home with the children. All right. So now we are back off from our tangent and we have entered the original planet Pollux 4's orbit. And we already know that there is no life form, and Spock sensors have confirmed that. And it's 4 billion years old, and we don't need to, reach out and say, hey, we're coming in. So they start to get their cartography machines ready. And then all of a sudden, this like giant green hand comes at them, like Jolly Green Giant for real. And they are like, what is this that's coming at us? And Spock is confirming it's nothing. Like it's just energy. It's just a green looking thing.
Yeah, there's no mass to it. It's not giving off any real sensor readings other than just it's
shaped like a hand.
Shaped like a hand, but even I think the energy readings that they're picking up don't translate to what they see visually. It's just we have no idea. There's just energy.
And even reversing as fast as they can, the hand actually catches them, and Sulu can't make the ship get away from its grip. Like he's stuck.
Right. I like the effect. It's a practical effect. It's not. They made some small adjustments to it that we see later on in the episode, but what we see on screen is not the remastered version. It's what we would have seen in the original version. So
that's really cool.
It's kind of a cool camera effect that they do. So
yes.
We'll talk a little bit more about it later.
I did like the overall filming of this episode. So we have the opening, and sorry guys, I don't like this new opening tune.
Let me take my note for them. Still don't like woman singing. Is that what you don't like?
Yes.
Okay. My sexist co-host does not care for the woman singing. Okay.
And here I am like go Lieutenant Palamas, but I don't like the lady. Okay. Oh well.
What if I told you it was the actress who played Lieutenant Rand?
Oh no, that'd be so sad.
Doing the singing. Would that change your mind? Would that influence your thought?
I would be really upset if it was her.
Okay, it's not.
Thank God. You got me. I would be judgmental still. Oh well. So we have the log, the captain's log, saying, "Oh no, an unknown."
We're fucked.
But we're still orbiting Pollux 4.
Yeah, I think that, well, scientifically, are they orbiting? Orbiting would be continuing to journey in a path around the planet. Are they orbiting, or is the hand literally holding them in place so they're not orbiting, they're just held in place?
I took it as they were held in place, so they're stuck in the orbit.
I don't think they're moving at all. I think we continue to see the planet move. Yeah, we do continue to see the planet move, so...
And they're like at a stop sign.
They're just stuck. I don't know. I'm not going to picture that much more.
Well, we can just watch the little image. But Kirk tells Uhura to contact Starbase 12 with updates, because obviously this is important. They've just been rocked back and forth. McCoy has 5 injured patients that he's treating.
Right, because it wasn't a gentle grabbing when the hand latches onto the Enterprise. It's violent. It grabs them. It stops them in their place. They try to escape. They're rocking themselves around.
That's what I really liked about... I didn't like that they got caught, but that's what I was mentioning that I liked it. I always like when they're all jostling. I don't know. And then Spock again is certain. Yes, it looks like a hand, but nothing of substance. It's just energy. Kirk asks Sulu, use the tractor beams, let's push it away, and he's even unable to gain traction with the tractor beams. Like, this is major.
Because again, there's no physical mass for the tractor beam to push against. Tractor beam, just like everything else, there has to be an equal and opposite reaction. But when you're pushing on air, you don't really feel, there's nothing for the air. You're not pushing back on the air.
Like through a cloud.
Exactly.
Wow, that would be really like mind messing up. Like that you can see something holding you, you can feel it holding you, but you can't feel it. Like, I don't know. So the next, like on their viewing screen, we see this man, and he thinks that they're good friends, that they haven't seen each other in 5,000 years. And he's like, "How are we doing?" And then Kirk ignores like the happy greeting, and he demands that the Enterprise be freed. Like, don't mess with us. And then the man on the screen is angry, and he says, "You will obey me, and you will not be let go." And he even threatens that he's going to crush the Enterprise. And he even demonstrates his strength by adding pressure to the bridge. And the crew is like physically harmed, like they're hurting.
Yeah, I think what they're wincing is in as if in pain, and I think it's in reaction to the sound of the stress that's being applied to the Enterprise itself.
I was
That's
also thinking like the air pressure, like in a plane.
Yeah, I don't know if environmental controls would have much effect in that, because while it's applying pressure to the outside, it's not changing. I don't think that would change the atmosphere
But
pressure inside.
crushing metal sure would make a loud, awful noise.
Yeah, that's okay. Again, we've just spent more time looking into that than the writers put thought into it, which is on display because whatever, I didn't even write it down, but Scotty gives off some readings on some units, and that those aren't real units. They're just completely made up.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh my gosh, we're going to blow." And then this man then says, to the crew, "Come on down, visit with me." And he's like, "But not that one with the pointy ears. He reminds me of Pan, and I was bored of him."
Right. And that's really going to be our first indication of where this plot of this episode is going. Because, I mean, we see him as this projection in space. Because that's important also to point out, is that it's not a view screen, communication to communication, camera to camera, view screen to view screen. What they see is a projection of his
Torso
head.
with the laurel leaves and everything.
Yeah. And so there's a little bit of an indication that he's a, you know, of the Greek variety.
Yes, very shiny.
But the reference to Pan is going to be kind of that first big hint
Because
to
we
it.
know who that is.
Right. Because, I mean, even the Metreons from Arena kind of portrayed that Greek look
Yes.
to them, but they were not Greek.
No, this is very much Greek mythology.
Yes.
And then this man also says, "While you're on the way, you need to be sure that you are joyful and not be sad." And Spock calls him verbose when Kirk asks if he's insulted Spock. And then Spock is like, "I can only be insulted if I have emotion."
Yeah. That's a human trait,
I am not.
Jim.
So now we have joined this man on the planet Pollux 4. We have Kirk, McCoy, Scotty, our new friend Chekhov, and Lieutenant Palamas.
Yeah. Chekhov with his bad wig still.
Yes, it's really bad. But Kirk instructs their tricorders to be on, scan everything, because they have no idea what they're dealing with. And Lieutenant Palomas doesn't understand why she had to join the party, because, I mean, she only went to get a cup of coffee and a nap.
Yeah. It's kind of weird that, well, it makes for a better episode, but it's stated in the episode that her specialty is ancient civilizations.
Yes.
Still don't quite know why we chose to bring her down in this moment, because other than those two clues, the laurel leaves for the headdress and the mention of Pan, there's not any other reason to suspect that this is tied in any way to ancient civilizations.
I think, though, that she had to come because we learned earlier that the planet is thousands and thousands of years old. And because she is the most knowledgeable of archaeology, anthropology, ancient cities, they need that. And she just happened to come along to, give a helping hand on her nap.
I mean, I'll poke holes in that because at the very beginning they talk about how the planet is lifeless.
Yes, but it's full of life.
It's 4 billion years old, right? Which is a problem because it's full of life, and even when they're in orbit, they can tell that it's
Looks like Earth.
It's fucking vegetative right there. I mean, we're looking at a screenshot of it now. That looks like Australia to me, to be honest with you, but it's obviously green. What I think that Spock's intention was when he made that statement is there's no higher life forms. There's no intelligent life.
That makes sense.
So I also mean to take that to be there's no signs of past higher intelligent life. There's no ruins. I mean, what we
So it would
see.
be just like dead like live vegetation.
Yep, live vegetarians. And so without again, I just think that I just question why we bring her down other than for the show to advance the plot.
I completely agree. She wasn't even on the bridge.
No. So tie it in, fan fiction, fan headcanon here. Why not put an ancient civilization there? Because ultimately, you can tie it in. Why does Apollo and the other quote unquote gods, why do they go to this planet?
True.
So if you add an ancient civilization, and we know their motivation is to seek out worshippers because they need it, then why not put this ancient civilization there so that they go, oh, this drew us here? You know, I don't know. I think I'm just inventing things now for the episode.
Well, while they're scanning, they do walk into an opening that has like a gazebo and some benches to sit on.
Right.
Like picnic benches.
And yeah, everything looks like you would imagine from a stereotypical movie set about ancient Greece. You've got the columns in the gazebo, as you put it. They're statues, I think.
And it's like broken and old.
Yeah, I mean, is it really old? I would imagine they're trying to portray it as old, but you can definitely tell this is a movie set, movie props,
Yes.
styrofoam. So it's fine. It's impressive.
Yes, they did a really good job.
I'll give them that. So,
well, they're working with what they got. So while they're scanning and looking around, this like giant voice booms and he's calling his children as if he knew them from generations ago. And then he even calls it like seasons of earth along with other Greek gods. And McCoy and Chekhov are still scanning. And then like they're ignoring him. And he's like stands now. And he's like, I am Apollo.
Important to point out, first time he introduces himself as Apollo.
Yes.
He does not introduce himself when they're still on the Enterprise.
And then Chekhov, he's like under his breath, and he's like, and I'm the Tsar of Russia. And Kirk like quickly like cuts him off. And he has to like put himself down, put his tail between his legs, and apologize for his outburst. He's never met a god before. And then Kirk's like, you still haven't. And then asks for McCoy's readings, like, what's up with this? And then McCoy's like, just a simple humanoid, but not too simple also. And then randomly, Apollo comments on Earth and its beautiful women as he looks at Lieutenant Palamas, who, yes, is very beautiful, and he's pleased with her beauty. And then Kirk, like, interrupts, like, because he's, like, fawning over her. And Kirk's like, what is your end game? What do you want from us? We're here. What? And then Apollo's like, you will not be leaving. You're stuck here. Welcome.
Yeah, you're going to live here. You're going to worship me. You're going to call me a god. You are my children. And you can call me Zaddy Apollo.
Fancy. Well, he does have a very shiny attire.
Shiny attire, nipples that go sideways. He's got it all.
Shorts.
Short shorts.
This man is very muscly, though. Like, he's a very nice looking man, too.
Yeah. I don't think I have it in the interesting facts for the episode, so I did read, though, that when this actor flew out to audition for the role,
Ooh.
One of the first things they did was make him take off his shirt so that they could make sure that he had the body and the muscles that would be required for the character. And I mean, I imagine that's not uncommon for casting.
No, I agree.
But the way I read it made it very much seem that it was like out of the norm. It was just like, dude, we're not even going to bother unless you can, flex for us. So
yes, let's check out your body and then say, I am Apollo.
Yes, yeah. But, if you flub the line about being Apollo, that's fine as long as you're Got a rock hard body. We'll make it work.
And immediately, Kirk tries to call Enterprise, and he's like, "We got to get out of here." And all of the communication lines are down. And again, Kirk is like, "What do you want?" And Apollo demands that he will be worshipped, and he grows to be like a big giant man. And then we have a break.
Yeah. Yeah, he grows to like 50. I don't know how tall he gets. I don't think I read anywhere where how tall he gets, but we're talking like 20, 30 feet.
Jolly Green Giant.
Jolly green's not green. It's gold.
So now we're on the bridge, and Uhura cannot contact the landing party. Spock tells her to keep trying, don't stop. And Sulu, you need to be prepared to leave immediately. Now, see, of all the people that went down who should have gone, it should have been Sulu and Uhura instead of Lieutenant Palamas, as we said before, because she wasn't on the bridge. So Sulu needs to be prepared to leave immediately, and we need to know what else is on this planet because we thought, again, nothing was there.
Still really is nothing there.
So now we pop back to the planet, and McCoy is just calling him fascinating. Like, how is this happening? And the crew has gone like in this corner, and they're just talking amongst themselves as Lieutenant Palamas is giving the history of Apollo, the twin brother of Artemis and son of Zeus. We learn the god of light knows the bow and the lyre because we can see that he has a lyre behind him in his gazebo.
Yeah, boy howdy, thank God we brought
The lyre.
No, I was going to say the lieutenant because her skills do come in handy. Again, why did she come? I think Scotty pulled some strings to get his girlfriend to go to the planet.
He needed a friend. And then Chekhov on his readings, he can read that there is an incredible amount of energy being used to create this entire situation that they're in. But is this the real Apollo?
Yeah, so I don't think the energy is being used to like fabricate the set in the way that we saw in the Squire of Gothos. I think the set is fixed. I think he might have used energy to replicate the surrounding area, and not all of it, just the stone fixtures of everything. But I don't think he's using the energy to maintain that.
Got it. Just more of himself.
Yeah, well, he's using the energy source to
grow and shrink.
Grow and shrink. We see fireballs or lightning bolts in a bit, but it makes sense that Chekhov would have this energy source. One, it's an energy source; it puts out a signal on its own.
Yes.
Two, it would be working overtime. It takes a lot of energy to manifest that hand that is holding on to the Enterprise.
That is, yeah, that's happening at the same time.
It never goes away. So, yeah.
He's tired.
Which we're going to find out is going to be a good thing in a bit for the Enterprise crew.
So McCoy asks, what does Apollo want in return for this worship that he wants? And all he says is a simple life in paradise like it was 5,000 years ago. And then Kirk's like, we don't bend to anyone. We don't worship anyone. And then this is when we see Apollo get angry and he threatens it with wrath and like, rawr. And then Scotty gets mad with his own wrath and yells back, like, what are you doing? And then Lieutenant Palamas interrupts all of them. And she's like, what he said makes no sense whatsoever. And then again, Apollo says, yes, she's beauty and grace. Oh, Miss America. Although she's wise for a woman. And then he wants to know her name, and she gives her rank. And again, what's her name? And then now she's like broken down to just a lady, Carolyn. And then Scotty yells again for him to leave her alone. And then Apollo makes more craziness. And then the phasers are like melted together.
Yeah, so it's important to note when in this whole interaction, it's becoming obvious that Apollo is viewing Lieutenant Carolyn as an object, as a mate.
Yes.
Scotty, but not in an aggressive way. Not like I'm going to continue to make the comparison between Apollo and Khan. So
Okay.
Khan was very much toxic, very much manipulative, controlling, gaslighting, and so forth. We don't get that from Apollo.
He's very soft, even though he's very angry, like rageful.
Yes. And so in this moment, Apollo is not doing any of those things as he converses with Carolyn. He just very much is flirting with her and flattery. And
He wants to get to know her.
so when Scotty's reacts, it is in no way a way to defend Carolyn. It is pure jealousy on Scotty's part.
Totally.
And he pulls a phaser on Apollo. And that's when Apollo shoots out lightning bolts from his fingers. It hits the phaser in Scotty's hand. It melts the phaser. And yes, they discover that the rest of the phasers have all had their energy drained.
Oh, that makes sense. And he calls them toys. And then Apollo goes on. He's like, let's just talk about stories. Just like, Artemis. But something's wrong with Lieutenant Palamas. She needs to have her bow arm bare. Like, duh, how do you shoot your bow and arrow with a shirt on? I don't know. And so, snap, she's now in pretty much less clothing than she already had on. And just, her arms are bare and just enough is covered. But it's beautiful pink.
It is.
And her hair has changed too.
Her hair has changed too. Her whole outfit has changed. And again, it's not a manifestation. It is Apollo fabricating that material and changing it. Is he using the mass and material from her uniform to change it? Is he just dissolving it and making it a new dress in an instant? Who knows?
He, shared some sparkles from his own.
There we go. But again, it's a full creation of an actual object. It is not like a holographic illusion or an illusion like we saw with the Squire of Gothos.
And she's also, her personality has changed now. Now she's like, oh, I like wearing this cute little outfit. He's kind of nice.
Yeah.
And Apollo, he's like normal. And he tries to take her like to like a side area so they can get to know each other more. And again, Scotty is jealous and he tries to stop them. And Apollo again, crack. And then Scotty falls back and he's stunned. And then Carolyn and Apollo are gone.
Right. Side tangent here. Do you think up until this moment, because at some point I think we both can agree, Carolyn flips from Enterprise crew member on a mission to partner of Apollo?
And immediately.
When does that happen for you? When do you think that switch happens? Because again, with Khan, that happened immediately. As soon as he was seen, she was completely smitten with him. When do you think Carolyn makes that transition in this episode?
Well, like it's TV, so I would imagine if this happened, it would be a longer period of time. But he talked to her. He tried to get to know her. Where on the Enterprise, she is just a lieutenant. She has had to go against all kinds of men in this science area and fight for where she is. I'd imagine, because you said military. So lieutenant is an officer.
Okay.
So she's had to be strong, not as feminine, even though she has to wear that crazy outfit. But she's had to fight. And now this weird dude is actually wanting to know who she is, not with Lieutenant Palomas. She is just a pretty gal, and her name is Carolyn.
Okay. All right. My answer is much more simple. I think as soon as she's got a pretty dress, she's just like, oh, I love you.
Well, I mean, that kind of sealed it.
Yeah.
And so they've disappeared, and Kirk is like, WTF. And he sends Chekhov to do research. I don't know what he's researching. Just scanning things?
Yeah, well, yeah, trying to figure out anything that they can. I think the order in the moment, if it's not explicitly said, it's said later, but at some point in all of this scanning, it is ordered to Chekhov and others that they need to find the source of the energy. Even if it's not explicitly said in this particular moment, that's primarily his mission.
And that's what these tricorders do? They look like tape recorders.
They do a lot of things, but yes, one of the things that they do is they can scan the environment on a huge number of different variables.
The original iPhone.
In a way, yes.
Pretty nifty. So scanning. And Scotty is now coming back from his smack, and he's babbling about Palamas going off with Apollo. And Kirk's like, she'll do her job. She's gaining information. That's what he should be doing too. And then McCoy and Kirk, also are trying to imagine how this even happened. Like, how did they get stuck with a green hand that isn't a hand, and now they're on a planet that wasn't supposed to have a life form? Now it has, like, what happened? And then perhaps Apollo was mistaken for a god some 5,000 years ago. Sophisticated travelers like landed on Earth in the Mediterranean, mistaken for gods, like totally like crazy storyline.
Well, very similar to what we saw in, to go on a big tangent, Stargate SG-1.
Oh yeah,
It's that same idea where you have sophisticated aliens coming to Earth at a time when humans don't have sophisticated technology,
true.
and they get mistaken and lean into the idea that they are gods. And that is, spoiler, exactly what happens here. This is not anything else except Apollo and all the other gods that he mentioned is going away are in fact aliens that have these incredibly long lifespans. They're referred to as the beings in official Star Trek lore, and they did in fact go. Everything Apollo says is correct. They did go to Earth. They were treated as gods. They were in fact the Greek gods. They also were North mythology gods. There's speculation, and yes, in fact, they went to Vulcan and Romulus and all these other places. That is what these beings did. They impersonated, or they injected themselves into the society as gods, because that's how they exist. As we find out, Apollo literally feeds off of worship and admiration and all the other things that he's desiring. That's what he's gaining nutrients for. At least because I believe the other gods have gone away.
Right, like piece by piece.
As he mentions, they kind of give up and they just kind of dissolve. So I think why they need, this is a big tangent, whatever energy they get from that,
Like a big head.
it's what they use not only, I think, to power their energy source, because we never really find out what it is, but it also is what gives them the energy to maintain this physical form. I don't think that they are naturally from this plane of existence. I think they traveled to this plane and they need the energy to stay here. And when they don't get it, they go back to their original plane.
Oh, like they're like drifters.
Yeah.
What amazing brains these writers have.
Well, I think it's also a lot of fans pulling stuff out of their butts, but
Well, just to even make this episode, like, this is wild. I don't know. Like, I'm learning a lot. But now we're back on the bridge, on the Enterprise. And Spock is having Sulu activate reverse polarity, which
polarity.
which isn't working as they had hoped. And Uhura is trying to still contact the landing party, and she's like, "Oh, I need to create a bypass." How does she know that? Okay, cool. Create that. And then another crewman, Mr. Kyle, has located the landing party that they cannot contact, but they don't know why one has separated from the group.
Right. And I think it's this scene that there's a brief inconsistent error where Spock, in passing conversation, refers to the being as Apollo. I don't remember the exact context, but he says something along the lines of, we have to get them away from Apollo, we have to keep them safe from Apollo, whatever. The point is, Spock would have no way of knowing it's Apollo because he's never been down to the planet where Apollo introduced himself.
That's true. He only knows the Pan
reference
and the man that looks like some weirdo.
Correct.
So Sulu is also tasked. He has a lot of things to do. He has to find the location of a special energy source. They're all looking for this energy source. And he's going to have to scan the whole planet if he has to. A lot is happening in that tiny, tiny scene.
Yeah.
Like Spock is like yelling at Uhura. So now we're back on the planet, but we're back with Apollo and Carolyn, and they're walking in this beautiful garden. And again, Apollo is just like love bombing her with compliments and beauty, comparing her to Artemis and Hera. Like, these are gorgeous gods that we know of. And then Carolyn asks, well, what happened to them? And he doesn't say like they died because, she's lowly. So she wouldn't know what that means in their way of death.
You're just a mortal, baby. I haven't made you a goddess yet.
But he goes on to say that he just had waited for her, this lowly being, all this time since, gods took mortals for life all the time to love and to care for them. So why not you?
Yeah. And again, I think that has to do with them maintaining their energy reserves to maintain their form.
Like a conduit?
Yeah. It allows them to continue to exist on this plane. And again, he talks about how, you're right, they didn't die, but they went away. They got tired of waiting. They got tired of existing in this
Form.
weakened,
Yeah.
inferior state than what they're used to on this plane, and they got tired of waiting for more worshipers. So then they said, all right, peace out, we're gone, we're gonna go check out other stuff. Apollo's the only one that stayed behind waiting,
which makes sense why he's like, you all have to stay here, just do it. So then we skip back to the Greek, quote unquote temple, and Chekhov and Scotty have found a hidden place of energy.
Kinda. They at least are able to locate it within the area.
That's what I meant. They're like, over here, we just haven't found it yet. And then they do explain that's how they think Apollo is doing all this, stuff.
Yep, advancing the plot.
And then McCoy also wants to know about like Apollo's physical self, because when he was like scanning him, he saw an extra organ in his chest and he doesn't know what it is.
Yeah, and this really only serves a purpose to show that Apollo is not using other forms to manipulate and use this energy for any of his quote unquote powers. It's just to explain and gives a little bit of context that he's naturally channeling this energy, that this is part of who he is. It doesn't really pay off any further.
It helps me understand what you're talking about. So, thank you. So Apollo appears as they're, running around, and they ask him about Lieutenant Palamas. And he's like, you don't need to worry about her anymore. She's fine. And then Scotty, again, he's like, is like a rabid dog, like on this episode. Like, calm down, boy.
Right. It's interesting to point out because, yeah, Scotty tries to attack again. He gets blasted back once again. There's never any consequence to Scotty on a career wise. He's never brought up on court martial for any of this, and he really
should have.
Would be justified because he repeatedly defies orders and repeatedly tries to attack Apollo for very irrational reasons.
And he even has to make Kirk stand in front of his men because Scotty is shocked and he's on the ground out cold. And everyone is like huddled over Scotty and trying to like, keep him safe. So everyone is now could be in danger.
Yeah, I like at some point Scotty wakes up from one of these attacks and they ask him how he is. He's like, I don't think it's this. I think it was earlier, but Scotty goes, I'm kind of tingly, Captain. And then he keeps going after it. I'm just like, you really like to be tingly, don't you, Scotsman? You really are a bit of a masochist in this sense.
And Kirk just keeps going on and is all like, instead of worshipers, you now have enemies. And Apollo has an ability to grip Kirk's throat, choking him to the ground. So Scotty went against orders, and now Kirk, his captain, could be dead.
Yeah. Force choking him out like Vader.
And so now everyone is, and Apollo just walks to his temple bench. He sits down and he's talking to them, and mid-sentence just disappears. And Chekhov, our crazy little guy, he notices that Apollo looked to be in pain while disappearing. And then now Scotty comes to. They're all gathered together trying to like welcome back Scotty. And now they're trying to remember their Greek mythology. And they learn that gods of the myths also need a time to recharge after expending such energy. Remember, Apollo has the force field that's holding the Enterprise, and he's doing all this fancy stuff with the planet, the environment, taking care of Scotty, like all this crazy stuff. with such restraint also, because I mean, he could just kill them all instead of forcing them to be his worshippers. So while he's off somewhere recharging, Kirk has an idea to provoke him enough so that he's going to attack them, and then that way they can eventually get back to Enterprise. They want to get enough energy. Apollo reappears and he demands that everybody bow to him. He's over everything that he's been doing. They're going to bow to him and approach him and also worship. All of that.
Yeah, because again, he's stuck in this one track mind of I need to get back to what things were thousands of years ago, where I had worshippers, I had followers, and we have to. I've tried to convince them with the carrot. Now I'm going to use the stick.
And he tells them that they need to gather laurel leaves, make a fire, and sacrifice to him.
What are they going to sacrifice to him?
I have no idea.
I saw this. He says this. He's like, and make sacrifices to me, and I'm like, what are we sacrifice? There's no other life,
The
dude.
melting phasers.
Yeah, there's birds. You hear birds in the background.
Yes.
So maybe he's going to manifest lambs and goats and other things to make sacrifice, I guess. I have no idea.
And Kirk is like, no, we only believe in one God. And then they all turn their back on him and ignore him, which makes Apollo more angry. And he's like super angry. But then all of a sudden, Lieutenant Palamas has come back and she's like, don't harm them. I mean, you know so much about love. You don't need to harm them.
Which is completely throwing a wrench in Kirk's plan of get him to expend as much energy as possible so we can overwhelm him. That was the whole reason of making him angry and mad and openly defying him. So she really throws this plan to the side.
And you can see Kirk be like, oh my gosh, woman.
I think he's thinking, oh my gosh, Lieutenant, but
Yes.
okay.
And he's like, oh, well, okay. The rest of the Enterprise can be in my temple. And he's like, they can raise goats and sheep, be primitive. Housing will be made of the ship herself. Like he's visioning this all on the Pollux 4.
Yeah, where the hell are they getting the sheep and the goats, guys?
So then once again, just Apollo and Carolyn are together. And he again is telling her about the beautiful life of love, that everything's going to be perfect. She can be the mother of a new race of gods. And then they have this beautiful, passionate kiss. So while that's happening, Kirk and the boys are trying to still contact Enterprise. They have not stopped. They are trying. And then again, Palomas reappears. And then Scotty's like, oh my gosh, are you okay? And Kirk's like, well, we're going to find out. He has never left his point of command. Like he's always kept a clear head. And then Chekhov offers to help. And that's when we learn that you're only 22. You can't handle this. So Kirk, I guess, is a manly man, goes over to the Lieutenant Palamas and asks how she is. She, tell me, Lieutenant, what's up? And she tells him that Apollo just wants worship. They'd all live peacefully. All is great. And you can kind of see Kirk like poke her bubble of happiness and says, come down from Mount Olympus and deny him.
Yeah, because this is going to be the next step and possibly the last attempt that they have to overcome Apollo, and which is to get Carolyn to not feed into Apollo and the fantasy and to spurn him. So again, they can get him into this weakened state to overcome him. And she at first says that, no, I'm in love with him and I'm going to be his partner and I can't do that. And then through some dialogue back and forth, Kirk is able to convince her.
Well, he takes her hand, and I think that's what really brings her back.
Yeah.
Human to human contact.
Yep. And to be like, this is a fantasy. You can't do this. You have to, first and foremost, be human. Second, you have to resume your role as
lieutenant
and your duty to Starfleet and the ship. Again, she would be subject to court-martial as well.
Yes. Yeah, but all of them get to live happily ever after later. Hallelujah. Uhura has created the bypass, and she's able to contact Kirk somehow. And now we can figure out where you are and attack and bring you back. But also Spock's like, you all need to get kind of close and tell me where you are. because we know one of you, ran away, but get together and we're going to figure it out. But Kirk also can't promise what Enterprise sees is where they are. So let's try.
Right. And again, what they're attacking is the energy source that Apollo is channeling to use all of his powers.
And this is where McCoy is like, that has to be what the extra organ is for. Duh.
Congratulations, McCoy. You solved the day.
Well, he is a very smart man, our cowboy. And so now Palamas is back with Apollo, and she's like, oh, I loved you. It was lovely, but I have to get back to work now. Like, I'm a scientist. Tell me about your evolutionary pattern.
Yeah.
Like, I have to look at you like a bacteria.
Yeah, very much belittling Apollo, very much flipping the script and saying like, "No, your charm doesn't work on me. Like I was being friendly and nice to you, but now it's time for me to resume my duties and study you, basically."
You can see at the beginning, it kind of hurt her to say these harmful things.
100%.
Like, she had to say it, but she's like, oh, I'm harming. Like, he's going to be heartbroken. But then he's like, you have to be logical, Apollo. I mean, how can I stay with you when you're using thunderbolt and anger to get, what you want or what I want? Like, that's not really great, right?
Yes, very much again, everything that she's saying is emasculating him, pulling him down off of his high horse, bringing him down to a level of a normal human being, which I think is what hurts the most. I mean, he's obviously heartbroken that he's being rejected by a woman, but I think it digs deeper that he's being brought down to equal footing with everything that she says and being regarded as just an ordinary entity.
I mean, that would be harmful if someone I love told me that. But the Enterprise is able to contact everybody, and he sees that there's a change in the weather. We'll wait for Kirk to signal to fire. Thankfully, Kirk has found the temple where the energy source is. So they lure Apollo back to the temple, and, Lieutenant Palomas has weathered him. He's, kind of like soggy and sappy.
Yeah, because again, we kind of glossed over it, but as she's rejecting Apollo, the change in the weather is Apollo creating this storm on the planet and directing the fury of this storm at Carolyn. So she's windblown, she's
Like a
had
tornado coming.
almost like a tornado coming. And so when we see her now, she's very much beat up. She's very much not like physically violently harmed, but
well, like trees have like branches have slapped her. She's running through.
yeah, her hair's a mess. She's got dirt smudged on her face and so forth.
But she's walking in it, and Scotty is able to grab her, and they hide behind a rock. And the Enterprise is able to strike, turning the temple into rubble.
Not just the temple.
Everything.
Not everything. The temple and the little patio furniture in front of the temple for some reason had to be destroyed as well. They don't destroy the entire set. I think it's funny that they destroy the little garden bench with the table and the two benches on either side of it has to melt as well.
Yes. And Apollo is in tears. He tells the crew that he would have cherished them like a father loves his children. Did he ask for too much? And then Kirk just basically tells them that they've outgrown him and no longer need him. And he looks over at Palomas and is like, I loved her. I would have made her a goddess. And then he shows her his open heart, and yet still he ends up lost. And then so he calls to the heavens above, telling them they were right. He's very upset, and he's begging that they take him. McCoy and Kirk discuss how they didn't like being forced to wreck the temple. Like, it didn't have to come to this, especially with all that Greek mythology that they knew. If only they've gathered those laurel leaves.
Yeah, it's kind of sad in the moment because Apollo he's no longer angry. He's no longer wrathful.
He's broken.
They do in a sense, yes, they have to break him and he fades away and they basically through their actions destroy him. I don't know that they had any other choice, but it is definitely a moment that they regret and they're sad about.
Because that's all that Apollo really demanded. Just look for some leaves.
Yeah, and that's the ending line is them saying, if only we had just gathered a few laurel leaves. But roll credits. So, Jackie, what did you think about season 2, episode 2, Who Mourns for Adonais?
It really takes you on a ride. Like, you do think about Greek mythology that we know, or at least think we know. And then by watching this episode, you see a totally different output. But then at the end, you were, well, I was sad because, yes, they did essentially break him and he had to go back to wherever or die. And it was so sad. But also, he didn't have to be so mean, also.
Right. Yeah, again, I don't know that there's any other outcome they could have effectively pulled off in order to get away from Apollo and move on.
Who knows if Kirk's original plan would have worked?
Yes. So ultimately, while sad, I think necessary. And again, I think it's an entertaining episode to a point.
Yes.
It's very I don't know. Narrow seems like it's insulting to the episode, but it feels like the best way to describe it when it comes to the plot point. It's got fine pacing. It just overall comes across as narrow.
Well, it only had one idea. Usually, I've noticed that we have one main idea, and then we have, like our show, tangents. Like, oh, there's a pink thing over here. Oh, there's a yellow thing over here, but we're still going straight. This one was completely A, B, and back to A.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily have a problem with that. It can be entertaining. It just I don't know, maybe at the end of the day I'm not a fan of these episodes where a female member of the crew gets turned into a lovesick character
No, it's totally gross.
and ultimately has to be either then because when a character gets to that point, one of two things can either happen. They either can divert from the path that they're on and come back and redeem themselves, but they don't actually, you never actually see them do the redeeming. They get saved. They get convinced to do it, and sometimes they're even regretful and reluctant to do it. The other thing that they do is they continue on their path and they don't ever get a redemption, and they have to go along and kind of be the villain. And we don't ever really see, at least we haven't up to this point, the story plot of female crew member makes a mistake, goes down the wrong path, but then has their own self-saving and their own redemption that they bring about.
That would be fantastic.
I'd like to see that episode at some point. So,
But others can also see Scotty gets the girl at the end because he literally saves her.
does he? Because
we don't know, but he's literally holding her behind a rock.
I mean, we're batch recording these episodes, so we've watched a couple episodes into the future as we talk about this, and I'll just say I think we know they don't end up together. We don't miraculously see Scotty and Carolyn getting married. So
it would have been so cute.
I think she gets transferred off the Enterprise at this point, because I think when you kind of get to that point, you've been compromised. You have to get out of that situation because you've just proven that you can't be trusted on these missions and in these situations.
She has a desk job at Starfleet.
Pretty much. I don't know why Scotty doesn't get a desk job and why Scotty doesn't get reprimanded for his actions.
Well, he's a manly man. He could take care of himself after everyone else takes care of him when he gets hit with the thunderbolt.
I guess he's got a better contract. So, but
engineering is better than archaeology?
Yes. So, before we get to our final quotes, as a reminder, we'll post a bonus little episode over on our Patreon, our Star Note bonus episode, patreon.com/Treks and Tangents, where we'll dive into a deeper topic based on this episode. And I think the topic of our Star Note this week is going to be, was Kirk right to reject Apollo immediately? So we'll dive into that a little bit deeper over at the Star Note bonus episode that we'll post at patreon.com/Treks and Tangents. Again, all of our Star Note bonus episodes are free for all of our Patreon followers. But to round out our thoughts to this episode, our quote. Jackie, what's your favorite quote from the episode?
I'm back with Spock. Insults are effective only where emotion is present. And I mean, he's talking about when he doesn't get to go onto the planet because the pointed ears one reminded Apollo of Pan. Um, Breaking it all down, insults are just words. And if we don't allow our emotion to react to the words, then it's not really an insult after all.
All right. I didn't really find this episode to be too quotable.
No.
There wasn't really a whole lot of like deep quotes, but so I picked my quote. It's just a random quote from McCoy. Uh, in the beginning, when they're first beaming down to the planet and they're first encountering Apollo, he gives a quote and he just says, to coin a phrase, fascinating. Of course, in reference to the number of times that Spock has uttered that same or something similar. I liked it. It kind of stood out to me because I think as we're in season 2 of the original series, we're really starting to get a lot more character development in their personalities and their traits, their flaws. And so I kind of like this moment because it really kind of speaks to me. Everyone loves Kirk. Everyone loves Spock as a favorite character. I really kind of resonate with McCoy as a favorite character from the original series. And so I just really liked that moment where it kind of is showing a bit more of McCoy's personality in the moment. So, but I also have now some tribble tidbits or interesting facts about the episode. And Jackie, why do we call them tribble tidbits?
Because they are the best.
Because at some point Jackie said tribbles are the best part about Star Trek, and now we have a podcast that is loosely based on tribbles. So first airing September 22nd, 1967. Michael Forrest, who is the sideways nipple actor who plays Apollo, he later observed in giving interviews that he and William Shatner never share screen time where they stand next to each other.
That's right.
If you go back and you look at the episode, they're either doing separate camera shots where there's Kirk and then the camera angle changes to jump over to Apollo and back to Kirk, or there's an obvious height difference because Apollo is up several stairs in his little temple and Kirk is down at the bottom. And I can't confirm it to be true, but I saw several sources that commented on it, including Michael Forrest, the actor, speculating that this was at William Shatner's insistence because William Shatner is significantly shorter than Michael Forrest and he didn't want to appear shorter on camera.
Wow.
Vanity. The charred and burned phaser that Scotty was holding that gets burned by the lightning bolt from Apollo is the exact same one that was crushed by Khan in the episode Space Seed.
Well, yeah.
So they're reusing the prop. The dress that's being worn by Leslie Parrish, who's the actress who plays Lieutenant Carolyn, was held in place on her with fabric glue instead of tape. This, of course, not the best way to do this costume decision. And it did, in fact, hurt, she reported, when they had to take the dress off at the end of shooting days. Scotty, of course, Scotty the character, gets beat up quite a bit in this episode, and he gets tossed around quite a bit. And, of course, the actor playing Scotty doesn't get tossed around. His stunt doubles get tossed around. And they all suffered several injuries shooting those scenes, including one suffering a concussion. This is the second of 9 episodes across all of the Star Trek episodes and series to date to feature a question mark in the title.
Interesting.
The hand that they use to model the effect of the giant green hand holding the Enterprise in place is none other than Gene Roddenberry's hand.
I mean, that says a lot also.
And then the final tribble tidbit, the original script called for an ending where it would be revealed that Lieutenant Palamas was pregnant with Apollo's child. And
oh my goodness,
that was, of course, changed at the insistence of the networks. They didn't want to have a story that featured this erotic relationship between the two characters, resulting in an unwed pregnancy.
While she talked bad to him. at the end. Like, oh my
Basically.
gosh, broken home.
Basically, yeah, it was
Wow.
it would have been revealed at the very end of the episode when they're back on the Enterprise and Apollo has already dispersed and gone off to the other plane of existence. It would have been reported by McCoy to Captain Kirk that she was pregnant. So
That would also tie the loose end about losing an officer at the very, very beginning.
it would, yeah,
Ooh.
it would have, but ultimately it moved pretty far into the planning stages, but it ultimately was cut. They never filmed those scenes.
Good.
But those are going to be your Tribble Tidbits. And this is where we're going to dive into our episode ranking, where we pretend the episode is a member of our crew and what Starfleet rank we would assign this episode. The rank is going to be based on not only how entertained we were with the episode when we watched it, but also how valuable of a member we find them to be for our crew. A higher rank means that we find the episode not only more entertaining, but more valuable. And of course, a lower rank means we're not as entertained by the episode, and the episode is a more disposable member of our crew. Our episode ranking system is based on Starfleet ranks. We have at our bottom tier our enlisted officers, our ensign, our lieutenant junior grade, and our lieutenant, of which for any of them we can have an unlimited number of rankings. And then we have our officers that have limited slots for ranks. We have 7 lieutenant commanders, 5 commanders, 1 captain, and then 1 admiral, a 10 plus out of 10, a perfect, beyond perfect episode for the season. If none of that makes sense, we do post a graphical representation of our rankings every Wednesday over on our Patreon for everyone to view for free, patreon.com/treks and tangents. Jaci, this season your ship is the USS Luminaria.
Yes.
And so what rank are you going to give this week's episode?
Oi. Sadly, I have to give it an ensign.
An ensign?
Yeah.
The bottom rank, the most disposable member of the crew.
Yeah. I mean, especially when I learned that they wanted to make her pregnant. Oh my gosh. Total down the drain. They tried.
Jaci's rankings are frequently influenced by how the podcast goes. Okay, well, I'm going to give it a little bit more of a grace. It's not going to crack the officer rankings, so I'm just going to leave it as a lieutenant. It's going to be the top enlisted members. Again, it's an entertaining episode. It's got fine pacing. It doesn't really have any problematic moments for me. There's a couple little weird things to the episode that I kind of go, did we really need the giant storm at the end? I'm not a big fan of the plot of female crew member falls in love with an alien or someone else and then either has to be saved or remain and be villainized. But ultimately, it's Star Trek and it's the original series, and we're going to get a lot of that. So, for pure entertainment value, I'm going to call it a lieutenant because it is slightly disposable, but it's still entertaining. And that's going to be our rankings. As of this recording, on IMDb, this episode ranks a 7.1 out of 10. I tend to find the episodes that rank in the 7 out of 10 range for an episode to be kind of average for IMDb. Anything lower than a 7 is kind of a bad rank. 7 is middle of the road. 8s are going to be great episodes, and 9s are going to be fantastic episodes.
So they don't really give a 10.
No,
There's
you'll
always
never.
that one.
Yeah, you'll never get a 10 out of 10 on IMDb. So,
Well, that makes sense.
and I really wish there was. I don't know. We keep using IMDb as the metric for the rankings. I really wish Memory Alpha had a fan ranking scale to it, but it doesn't. But
Hint, hint.
again, we'll post the graphical representation of our rankings over at our Patreon, patreon.com/treks and tangents, free for everyone to view. We'll be back next week to trek through another episode, and this is where we'll give our turbolift tease or elevator pitch to the next episode's plot. I'll give Jaci the title of the next episode, and Jaci, with no other information, will give a brief pitch to the plot. Jaci, next week's episode is entitled The Changeling.
Remember that distress call for last episode? We are going to that planet and happen to meet a new character, and Sulu is going to become friends with this person, animal, who knows? And then we are going to help them, and Enterprise leaves.
And tune in next week to see how accurate Jaci's guess is. If you want more show information, you can find and directly support our podcast on Patreon, patreon.com/treks and tangents. Again, we'll have our bonus Star Note episode published as of this. If you're listening to this now, you can hop immediately over to the Patreon and listen to this Star Note bonus episode on this episode and every other Star Note bonus episode we have. We have our graphical rankings. And for our members, once a month, we dive into the animated series for Star Trek. We have all of our test episodes published if you want to hear how we were when we really first started out on this podcast.
We've improved.
I would like to think so. But yeah, thank you, everyone. Hopefully, if you like the episode, you'll comment, you'll like, you'll share the episode with your friends. Send them on over. We're always happy to entertain. You can also follow us on x.com at Treks_tangents. We're on Instagram and Blue Sky at Treks and Tangents. Jaci, where can people find you and what are you up to?
You can find me on Instagram as Jaboom, Jibboom. I am busily doing things with weight loss, fashion, dressing, after you've lost weight. How do you work your new body? And also I have my music as well as disability advocacy. So I'll be over there.
And you can watch me stream a variety of video games over at twitch.tv/PiratePoundTown. On YouTube, I post video game content and other random things on my main channel, Pirate Pound Town. Also on YouTube, coin collecting and hobby content at Pirate Treasure Hunting. I post socially on Blue Sky at Pirate Pound Town. And every once in a great while, you can catch me post something over on Instagram at Pineapple Cannibal. Links to all social media mentioned can be found in the episode description. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into this week's episode. We hope you had fun like we did, and we will see you all next week.
Be sure to check out Pan. He's not always sad.
End transmission.